Right, we're live.
Right.
Right. Right. Hi there, folks. It's Jonathan Denwood from WP-Tonic. This is a live workshop with my friend Vito, Peleg, and Andrew Palmer. In this series of workshops, which are going to cover, which we're going to do in November and December, we're going to be covering topics that will help you, the freelancer, the small WordPress agency owner, the implementer, anybody that's making their living from WordPress, that's providing services to clients. And we're going to cover the basic structure of this is we got a main topic, which Vito is going to do a kind of semi-presentation and his own views on. And then around the topic, we have gathered a few questions from the WP-Tonic Facebook group around this topic that we think will give additional value and help you manage your clients and your process in a much more efficient and painless way. So, Vito, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the WP-Tonic tribe?
Sure. So I'm Vito. I started as a freelancer building websites for clients from the back of a van when I was back in my 20s playing in a rock band. And I needed to generate some extra income. So I got into the game of building websites for clients, small businesses, started from friends, family, their friends, and so on. And then when I turned 30 and we put a stop to the band side, living in a van with four smelly guys, I started building a web agency here in London, in the UK. Within the first year, I got to 6 figures in revenue. By year 3, I had a team of 12 that altogether we built a little more than 800 websites for clients. And through this experience, we were struggling with a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about on this workshop and the upcoming ones as well. Not how to build a website, but how to deliver a website service to clients.
Yeah.
And that is how to structure the project, how to get the clients to act on the stuff that they do. And so through that experience, we developed a system that worked for us. And that includes Atarim as a tool that started as WP Feedback back in the day. We recently rebranded to Atarim, where I am the founder. And today we're serving more than 5,000 agencies and freelancers that are working with more than 105,000 of their clients through our system, and delivering websites and reducing about 80 to 85% of the time that it takes to build a website. I know it sounds a little crazy, but this is exactly what we're going to explore. How is this transformative a result can happen for each one of us if we just look at our process properly?
That's really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to these series of workshops, because I truly feel that if I had access to something like this freely at the beginning of my freelance small digital agency career, it would have saved me a lot of pain and frustration if I had a resource like this, Vito.
Me too.
I've got my co-host Andrew Palmer. Andrew, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the tribe?
I'm Andrew Palmer, and I'm a co-host, as Jonathan said, and I've stepped up. I've got an Atarim t-shirt, so I'm representing today as well. And I actually use Atarim as well, so I know what it is. But we're not just going to look at Atarim and the solution that can bring. We're going to look at really getting a process into your business, and maybe then using Atarim to smooth that process out. And that's what I've managed to do with Atarim as well. So I'm really pleased that Vito's here today talking to us all.
Yeah, right. I like to look at this like, you can get the best guitar in the world, but you still got to learn how to play.
Yes. So the title of this workshop is how to get content in a timely manner. And this, to me, is always one of the most painful areas of web design and web development, Vito. And it also leads to a number of unpleasant consequences if you don't have a process or a way of advising or handling the client. First of all, would you agree with that? And how does Atarim help you directly in dealing with this fundamental problem that all freelancer web designers, small agency owners will face?
So first of all, there is a mindset shift that we all have to do within our industry as a whole to really understand where these challenges are coming from, because we're all going through the same struggles that you're describing, Jonathan. I've been there for years myself, but basically we even surveyed the community, and we found that 74% people that filled out the survey say that it's hard to gather content from website clients. We have 2 people or 3 people that build websites for clients for years, so I'm sure that you guys would agree that most of us are in this 74%, and the 76 are probably lying.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, the other 26% are definitely lying.
So we're gonna see why this is happening and touch the core principles of how we're structuring our process that causes us this pain in the first place. And we have to start with the realization that we are service providers. We're not just building a website. We need to provide a service to the client and carry them along with us throughout the project. And every time the client has a touch point, these are the pitfalls of the project. These are the what's it called? Landmines, right? These are the landmines of the project. So we're going to see which ones are they and how we can really tackle them. Now, the interesting thing is that we also surveyed our community, and we found that 75% of the people that filled out the survey that are only using this system that I'm going to share with you today said that it's easy. So once you have the proper system in place, it can be easy. And we also know, because if we build a website, we know what to do. It's not that hard, really. It's not rocket science to build a website. So
it depends what you're building.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna start by talking about the standard, just so that we have a frame to this conversation. We're gonna talk about basic business websites, but these principles apply to anything, whether it's a 4 weeks project or a 2 years project. The principles really apply to all of them, and even more than that, on the bigger projects, these things become even more important to implement because that's when things are becoming more complex. There's a lot of more layers of complexity, so we got to bring things down and make sure that everything is nice and clear for both sides. So to get started with this, I would like for us to explore this slide here that lays out the standard or the ideal project framework. So I'm sure that some of you guys are doing all of these, and most of us are doing just some of these steps when we're delivering a website to a client. And it starts from just getting the proposal signed, getting the money, right? 30%, 50% is the standard of what we usually charge. Then we usually go into this discovery flow to really understand what the business needs. Some people put the discovery before that and get paid for the discovery. I think that's a great idea, upping the value for the client. But most of the industry is getting paid after a small discovery call, like a 10, 15-minute phone call or something like that. And then you build a proposal and you do the deep discovery after you got paid, at least some. After that, we have the architecture, building a sitemap so that we can communicate to the client exactly what we are building. This is something that rarely we do. Most of us don't do this step. No. And this is why later on we come up with scope creep. And that's when the client comes up to us here or here and tells us, wait, but what about this 3 more pages that I was talking about? Or wait, why do I have only 3 products on this shop? I thought we were going to have 300. Right? So all of these things are not flushed out in the right order, so that they just present themselves when it's already too late. So we want to create
Can I slightly comment on
Please.
that? Because it will cause, if you don't, and it doesn't have to be complicated if you're dealing with a very small website project. But I can tell you, if you don't stipify or have a process that clearly states what pages are going to be built and what is going to go on those pages, you're opening yourself to a very difficult conversation with your client. And it's going to build resentment either in you or the client, or it's going to build resentment in the both of you. And that is not going to be a great way to continue to the end of this project.
I agree 100%, because even if they don't know to tell you what they want, they have a picture in their mind, like we do when we start a project, or when we're starting a relationship with any professional. We have an end result that we want to get to, even if it's not super crystallized. We know what we're aiming towards. So if we don't allow them or give them the right tools and places to communicate these items to us, then it's just going to come and bite us in the ass, just like you're saying, Jonathan. And so after the architecture, once we have that sitemap that is laying out everything, and I'm not going to show how to do this, but there's all kinds of different ways of building a sitemap. Even doing this is better than nothing. Just taking like Google Slides and dropping a few boxes on it and saying, this is the homepage, we're gonna have the contact us, the about us, and something like that is way better than having nothing, because that is mostly for them. It's mostly for them to give us the information before we even started building. After that, we'll go into the wireframes or prototype, which again, one of the stages that a lot of people skip and just jump straight to the design. So in a lot of the industry and a lot of the projects that I've explored, you go from discovery to development, right? So you kind of like, okay, now I know what you need. Let me go off for a couple of weeks while you work on the content or something, and I'm going to create a homepage, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people, the way they deal with this in their mind is that, and I've heard it, they say with the smaller projects below $3,000, basically you get all the money up front and you're in total control. And if the client wants scope creep, you can say no. Well, that's great, but it doesn't build a great feeling between you and the client. And it will mean if there's resentment in the client, are they going to really recommend you to anybody else?
Right. So there is this concept that I call the flywheel, the referral flywheel, where every client that we bring onto the business it should be designed that they will bring 2 more. And in order for it to happen, they have to be happy when we get to the launch and when we get to the care plan after the launch. And like you're saying, Jonathan, if we're just in it for let's build a bunch of restrictions, let's just take the money, get the 100%, and I'll do what I know, and you shut up, right? So there is no real collaboration process between the two factors of the project. Then it's very unlikely that they're going to go and be happy about recommending you. They might, because you might be the only person they know that does it, which is also fine, but way better to have them like rave about you and call their friends about the new website instead of just like, yeah, I have this guy. You know what I mean? So, and I will tell you more than this. A lot of us just think with those smaller projects that by adding those 2 stages, there is no place in the budget for them, right? So it's just, I don't have time to do the wireframes. I don't have time to do the sitemap. It's just creating more stages, and I just have a very small budget for this project. So I'm just going to dive in to the design.
Well, the other factor is, Vito, is page builders, because they do encourage people on smaller projects from initial discussion to signing some kind of, or no signing of contract, because they get the payment all up front,
right,
which I think is a nightmare. to do that, and then they go straight into Page Builder, don't they?
Right, and I don't think that's the wrong way to do it. I think going into the page builder is way better than going into Photoshop and starting to mock up pages from scratch and doing squares and whatever. You can do all of this in the page builder. So I'm even gonna, because you mentioned this, Jonathan, I'm gonna share this page that we have here, and I'm even gonna drop this link here for you. So maybe even you can drop this in the chat over there. But basically, if you go to atarim.io/LP wireframes, you can find wireframing templates for all of the major page builders. So you can do this step inside the builder where you're already comfortable, which is what I would recommend. Because if we're going back to our flow, what we want to think about is that every step that we do, it's not an extension of the project. It's just the base for the next stage. So if we're doing the sitemap, might as well use a plugin like Slick Sitemap and do it directly inside the website. That means that you're building those pages. You create blank pages for all of the pages of the project, and the plugin will create those this nice structure, like you see right here, of a sitemap for you. So you're not doing any extra work. You're gonna be creating each one of those pages anyway. So might as well have this stage so that you're not missing out on anything else. Then with these wireframing templates, you're just taking the pages that you created, dropping in this template for all of with the wireframes in there, so that you can already start doing start working in the browser and start laying out the pages themselves. And after this, when you get to the design, you basically paint up the wireframe. You're not doing it again. And this is like the old mindset versus or how technology has caught up with what is required. Nowadays, you can do it all inside the page builder or inside Gutenberg. You know, even with Gutenberg, where it is nowadays, you can lay out this entire project from start to finish inside the website, instead of bouncing yourself and the client between different platforms and different methods of collaboration with an image, then a SaaS tool for the wireframes, or Photoshop, or XD or Sketch or whatever, and then take them into the browser, and then go to email and Google Docs and all of this mess. Maybe I don't know if it's gonna surprise you guys, but the standard WordPress project takes between 7 to 15 different tools that are introduced to the client to deliver the project. And it's insane. You know, it's like a 4 weeks project where you introduce 7 to 15 different methods of collaborating and communicating, which is like the Google Docs, the spreadsheets, the project management systems, Zoom, phone, chat, sending screenshots, annotating screenshots, sending them to third-party tools for the sitemap, another third-party tool for the wireframes. It's insane. So all of this stuff can be done inside the website itself, which gives a nice flowing effect to the project.
And I just want to make one thing. Does Atarim, have you built this structure in Atarim to actually?
Yes.
Right.
So the way that we look at this, the project needs to slide from one step to the next. And our system, the way it's designed, is pretty much mocked up after this. You can have our tool to systemize the work further and to automate a lot of those things that happen between the different stages. But just the mindset of understanding where we need to go from one step to the next is already going to cut the project completion by half, because we're creating the lag. Even though we say that it's client delays, it seems like it's client delays because eventually they don't do the work. But we are the leaders, right? We're supposed to lead that relationship. So if the client is lagging, then it is our system that needs to be adjusted. And so just by understanding this standard flow that I'm showing right here, it's already going to remove a lot of the pitfalls. Right, then we go
up there slightly just on the wireframes. You know, there's been I was in a group the other day, and there was a bit of kickback on the wireframes. I showed people how I grabbed content and stuff like that, right? Because they are basically black and white. They've got images in them and all that kind of stuff, and that then may cause some clients to say, well, you know, you've already designed the website. One, why are you charging me so much? Two, you know, who's designing this website, me or you? and two, is that the design? So you've got to kind of educate your client around the fact that you are showing them a wireframe in order to help them decide where the specific CTAs go, what type, where you want the kind of general layout of the website. And then when you come to the development and design, and you kind of you're not painting by numbers, but you've got, as a developer, you've got a real strong guide of what the impetus is for the website, and that's the.
I think you've made
all the way along.
I think you made such a fantastic point there, Andrew and Vito. I think we are actually looking at another product, but yours might be doing it. Or you might be planning and adding it. I think it's really important to have almost a client portal and have our onboarding pack, where one of the factors is what Andrew has just explained, where you actually have some resources that tell the client about the process. Because a lot of freelance designers, WordPress implementer developers think the client should understand the process, but like what Andrew has pointed out, they don't, do they?
They don't. No. And why would they? If you go to a mechanic and the car is not running, you don't care what's going to happen, really. You just want to drive the car. And like, you don't know about the carburetors and the types of models that should be considered, and which rubber band fits in which axle, and all of this crap that I don't know much about either. But you just want to drive the car. So there is a fine balance between training the client and letting them know what you're going to be doing for them. And I think it's a very healthy thing during the discovery stage to show them, this is my process. This is how we're going to go from this step to the next and to the next and to the next. And then when you get to that stage, communicate this over to them. So there is we give like a pack of emails to send over to the client for the different stages, just so that it can be communicated. That is inside the account, for all of our users. But even more than that, every step needs to feel like you're doing something else, even though it is the same flow. So what do I mean by this? I'm going to show you guys, okay? Sitemap. See if I can pull this up here. Okay, great. So here we have a sitemap, right? So these are all pages that were created inside this website. This is just a basic elemental page with this short code that was dropped into here. These are actually WordPress menus that build these, automatically build this nice layout from pages that were inserted into this menu. So you basically have two menus here, this one and this one, right? So this way, and with Atarim, they can just go in and say, oh wait, but I don't have a privacy policy. What do I do? What should I do at this stage? Or they might tell you, we never collected any reviews from users. Right. What you did here is you gave them something that is distinct. It already includes their logo, so it feels like you're getting started. It takes about 20-15 minutes to build this thing.
One thing I'm sure you hear regularly, and hopefully you have some resources to rebut this. We're going to have a certain percentage of people that are watching this, Vito, that says, well, that's great, Vito, but it's enough. I'm going to have to train my client to utilize your system. So, right. And that's extra work for me, and I don't need extra work. So do you provide any kind of resources that can onboard a client for the freelancer to utilize your system?
When the client goes in for the first time, they see a short video, a 30-second video that shows them what is expected of them. But you'll be surprised because what is the alternative? You're going to send them a screenshot of this via email and expect them to do what? Right? or you're going to send them a video of you showing what is here and expect them to do what. So this is where these things always break down, because we're actually adding complexity by not empowering them with a tool. You know, you give the guy the nail and it's like, okay, use your thumb, you know. So might as well just provide them with the right tools for the right stages of the build as they're going through this. And, you know, the training process is click the plus icon, choose any page, any part of the page, and let me know what needs changing. And you can see that we even have this text right here. Click the plus icon on the right to choose any element on the sitemap to leave a comment. So that's the full extent of the training in that one sentence. Instead of, please download a Chrome extension that you can take screenshots with, like this guy, and send me the link. You got to download this one. And then once you take the screenshot, you got to annotate this. So take these ones and, you know, mark what is required and all of those kind of things. Then you need to save this as an image and go to your Gmail account to send this over to me. So my email address is going to be, you know, support at Atarim. You got to wait for it to load, right? So support at Atarim, and you got to send it over there. Just make sure that you include this not in here, because then the resolution is bad. You got to add this as an attachment, and you got to find that file in here so that you can attach this in there. And I don't accept stuff that don't have subject line. So please make sure that you add a subject line that says sitemap for Jonathan's website. So you see the insanity, right? In how this is what people do every day. And then you send this off. Right now, my support team is gonna say, "What, Vito? What are you talking about?" So, going back to this thing again, it's all about building it all in the browser. You do the stages that allow you to continue from the next thing. You want to have quick intervals, and I'm gonna go back to the slide and show exactly what I mean by this. And then you just continue from that stage. So we have the home page. Boom! Let's drop in the wireframe template, and there it is. And that will allow them to interact with something that is designed to have no design, and continue with the same concept. Click the plus icon and let me know what is the text that we need here. Let me know what is the title that we need here. This is the best website. What image do we need here? Here is the image. Image is attached. You know, so you give them the tools to do this in a very easy and flowing way. But I'm going to go back to the presentation because, again, it's not so much about, it's more about the mindset of how we're doing this, the flowing idea of going from the architecture to the wireframe to the development and design, and then over to the launch. Now, the one thing that no one is usually looking at when you're looking at this stuff is right here. Right, are the different client touch points, the fact that you have to interact with the client and you have to account for this. So how much time are you taking to consider which page builder am I going to use? Which plugins am I going to use for this system? What is the brand that we're building for? Do you have the logo? Do you have this thing? But then when it comes to the client touch points, how to structure these stages, we just throw them out of the
So what I've learned the hard way, and it's something that there's part of my character that resists this, but I've learned to control certain parts of my personality because it doesn't always help me. Is that most freelancers they fly by the seat of their pants in a way. And I found, especially when you're dealing with clients, checklists are crucial, and building internal checklists about process are crucial, especially when you know, some people decide they're not. Some people say, well, it's just me. I don't care if you're just decided to keep things as just you, which many freelancers, they don't want to employ other freelancers. They don't want to build a team. They just want to do things themselves, and that's fine. Other people do want to employ other freelancers or full-time members of a team. it doesn't matter if you're the individual or team, you need checklists. What do you think about that, Vito?
So, well, I always think about the a pilot. Even after how long it takes to become a pilot, how many hours of flight you need to have.
A lot.
A lot, right? And still, even not just after the initial training, but 20 years later, they have a checklist every time that they sit at the controls and they check each part of those things. They mark them to make sure that this is done, because or else you're going to crash and burn, right? So this is you're muted, Andrew. We lost the joke.
I lost the joke. It's actually a legal requirement. Maybe we should make a checklist of legal requirements of freelancers.
Right. So and it's a legal requirement for a reason, because if you don't have a structured system, a step-by-step system that you can repeat, then you're just gonna miss things. Or even more than that, there is a saying in Hebrew that and I say this to my team a lot. If I see any processes being broken down internally, today's norm is tomorrow's rule, and that's how the norm keeps decreasing. So if we skip a step today, tomorrow that's the new system, and then we're going to skip another step tomorrow, and then that is the new system, and it keeps decreasing every time that you don't follow a structured flow. So I would 100% agree with you, Jonathan. All of those things, and we had like task lists, for how to onboard the client. Where does the client go to next? We had canned responses for every message that needs to go to them in these stages. Every time that they finished the stage, they had to sign off on a gravity form, something basic, nothing too fancy, but they signed off. It's done.
Yeah. So with Atarim, do you supply some of those checklists for freelancers? Are there any resources that you provide for that?
We do have, we create loads of content for our users. In the blog, you can even find a lot of those checklists in there, website checklist, client onboarding checklist. There's 25 emails that literally templates of 25 emails that you can just copy paste and use within your system. So we invest a lot of time and resources into our content that helps agencies and freelancers just shift their mindset, because like I said at the beginning, you got to learn how to play the guitar. You got to learn how to control this business, this web service business. And so all of these tools along with the Atarim system helps you along the way. So definitely, and you can even find a lot of those. So what we're trying to do is, instead of relying on people to do it, we're trying to automate those things internally. So a lot of times, for example, you wouldn't really upload, you wouldn't take an image and optimize this with tiny PNG. You would just drop it in. You're like, fine, yeah, I'll do it later. And then you forget, right? Yeah. So our system would automatically optimize the image and drop it into the media folder, for example, or doing the checklist for approving the page before you move on to the next stage. So that's why when I'm here, and if I'm done, I can click the approve page and I can mark all the tasks as complete, and everyone gets a checklist with all of the stuff that were agreed on that are now marked as done, so that everyone is aware of what's going on. Something that worked really well for us was doing Friday emails. Every Friday, we would spend 30 minutes per client to go into their account, to the project management system, and check what we did for them this week. What are we working on right now? What are we doing next? And we gave them like reports of these things. So with Atarim, we're fortunate enough to automate this, and you can check a checkbox, and every Friday, all of your clients are going to get automated emails from the tasks that you completed, as well as the stuff that you're working on right now based on the statuses and the things that you're going to be working on next. Or you can just drop in a report, just straight up from here.
Well, I think we're going to go on.
Right. Let's talk about the content.
Right. Well, I think we're almost up to the 45-minute, and I want to get to some of the questions that have been asked by members of the WP-Tonic Facebook group around this subject of content and process. We're going to be doing another similar workshop around similar subjects on on Tuesday the 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Andrew and Vito are going to be part of that. So we'll be delving more into Atarim and how it can help you, the freelancer and the small agency owner or implementer, make this whole process of onboarding and handling clients much more smoother, much less frustrating. So join us on the 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, Vito's offered the WP-Tonic Tribe a fantastic offer. You can try the whole system for just $1, and it's a great system. To get this special offer only available to the WP-Tonic Tribe, just go to the WP-Tonic website /newsletter, and you can go there and you'll see this special offer right in front of you. And also you can sign up for the WP-Tonic newsletter at the same time and be kept in the loop about all the great special offers, shows and workshops like this that will help you in your WordPress agency career. So we're going to go on to some questions that have been sent to us through the Facebook group.
One.
Go on, off you go.
I'll ask the first one. This is quite a common question. So I've got a client who was great at the beginning of the project, but has gone semi-disappeared. You know, they've kind of ghosting me, and I don't know what to do at mid-project. What should I do? How do you recommend that as Atarim? How can I get over that?
Right. So there's a few reasons why this is happening, and actually I can even pull this up here. And clients disappear for one of those 5 reasons. First of all, because we often frame the task of gathering the content as a 2 to 4 weeks task. And that is signaling to the client that it's no longer a task, it's a project that you got to find like literal weeks to do, because they don't know. And this is what we told them. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it'd be like getting you want an extension to your home, and you hire a contractor, then they turn around and say, well, you've got to build the foundation, and then we build the rest of it for you, and you just given them $50,000, and they're asking you to build the foundation, isn't it?
Yeah, this is exactly the experience that happens from the client's point of view. So you would go to the shop, to the mechanic, and he tell you, yeah, sure, you just need to get me that carburetor, and then I'll take care of it, right? Which one? I don't know. What are you talking about? All of that. So exactly, this is the thing. But more than that, like if we're looking at this at the first point here, who really has 4 weeks to do anything, to clear out our table, as business owners, and do one thing? I never have any task on my calendar is a 4 weeks task. It's always broken down to smaller bits and pieces, so I can actually put this inside my calendar. But if we're really thinking about it, when we come to build a basic business website, it's not a 4 weeks task. We just say that it is because we got burned so many times before. So we're giving them more time to execute on something that they don't know how to execute on. So instead, I would suggest if the question is what happens if they semi-disappear mid-project, to fix it before this happens is a lot easier, but by setting up short time spans. And even more than that, there is this is like a pro tip, a quick one-liner that is really transformative to remember. Every time that you need to talk to a client, that you need them to do something, frame this as you have 2 days and the weekend. That is the time frame. If you say 2 days and a weekend, it gets them thinking. It gets them to open up their calendar and see, when am I gonna do this over the next 2 days, or else I gotta do it over the weekend. But if you say it's you gotta do it over the upcoming week, or you have 2 weeks, or you have 3 weeks, then it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna find some time to do it, which they never get to. So you want to get them to drop this into the calendar with something that invokes thought, that gets them thinking about these things.
So in other words, let me just say, in other words, you got to step up as a project leader. You've got to guide your client from the very, very beginning, have the tools to guide your client, and just ensure that, one, they don't get overwhelmed, which is basically asking for content as soon as the project starts,
Right.
and expecting the client how to do it, because they just, why would they? Why have they employed you? And framing it as saying, right, we've got this. I love that. You've got Friday and the weekend to do this.
Yeah, 2 days. 2 days in the weekend. Thursday, Friday,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great way to go. Okay,
Yeah,
Jonathan,
it's
next question.
it's linked to our next question, but the other factor is if you provide a void, that void is going to be filled, and if you don't provide any structure like what Andrew and you have said, the client's going to fill that void,
right.
and
life will, for them without them even noticing.
Now, it's really linked to what you said. Is really linked to dormancy clauses, but it's linked to question 2, where one of our Facebook said that they just started in WordPress web design and development, and they haven't got a contract, but they've heard that it's really important to have a contract linked to any kind of project. I would say any project over $1,500, it's crucial to have a contract, but they don't know where to start and they can't afford a lawyer to advise them. And I would suggest don't go to a lawyer, because you'll end up with a large bill and almost a 30-page contract, which will scare off literally any normal client. But what is your advice about contracts? And do you provide any kind of advice, any templates in your system around
for the contracts? It's not something that we really touch internally, but I do have a couple of resources that are great. So first of all, there is a Monster Contracts by Nathan Ingram, and you can buy a contract. It's like a web design project, and it's like $50 or so. So you have it, right? And you just change the names. You have some like placeholder text in there to fill out every time that you need to send this to the client. So it really systemizes the work, and it's a tried and true one. Instead of I went through the game of first I wrote up my own, and I didn't know if what I was doing was correct. So I actually went out to a few other agencies and I pretended to be a client, and they sent me contracts, and then I tried to build my own from 4 different contracts that I got from them. But eventually, and like you're saying, Jonathan, it was always just too confusing and even too precise in some places, where they would tell you, we're going to build the homepage for 2 hours, and we're going to build this thing for 30 minutes, and you're going to do this thing for 45. So and really, like, that is where things starts to be commoditized, because it's not so much about the number of hours that you invest into the project. It's about the result that you can create for the other side. So unless it's a big development project, or it's a straight up development project where they're buying time, fine. But when you're building a business website, you're actually providing them with a digital presence that is supposed to work.
So could you re-mention that resource? And I think you said there was a second resource that you used.
So Nathan Ingram's Monster Contracts. This is a great one. And also, if you go to Troy Dean's WP Elevation, now they're called Digital Mavericks, and you just search WP Elevation contract, they have an amazing free template that you can download. And this is actually the one that I ended up using for a few years with a tool that is called Better Proposal. That was my tool of choice for sending those beautiful proposals that took me, instead of 4 hours to build, it took me like 15-20 minutes.
And what are the consequences connected to not having a contract, Vito?
So nothing big, to be honest, because if you need to pull up the contract, your system already failed, right? So like you pull out the contract in worst case scenarios. So if you have a proper system that you're taking the customer from one step to the next, you never need a contract, really. It's there to just in case type of thing.
It's just a layout, because people can interpret a verbal conversation. Two very honest people can interpret a verbal conversation totally different, can't they, Vito?
But just having it like bullet points on an email sometimes does the trick. So we did do always religiously, we did contracts with new clients, but once they were already our clients and they needed an extra landing page or they wanted to do this, we didn't go into the process again and build the whole contract. You just send an email that says, all right, this is what we're going to do and this is how much it's going to cost. Let me know if we have a go. That was my one-liner at the end. Let me know if we have a go. And then we'd say, go, it's in the queue. Let's build it up. So as you're starting off, don't get fixated on this. I would even say that if you feel that you need a contract, then probably before going out and creating a contract, inspect your own system so that you never get to a place where you even think about these things. But that kind of leads me to this last point, that is, if we're talking about contract, a lot of us feel that we need contract, especially for this stage, for gathering the content. Because what happens if the client doesn't give me the content? Am I still getting paid? Am I not? I want to get paid, but Jonathan, should we get paid? If we failed to get the client to a place where they can give us the content for the project, so we didn't complete the project, we gave them a website with lorem ipsums. Is this a running car?
It's a very. I totally agree with you when it comes to that. Do you want to ask question 3, Andrew?
Yeah, well, I'm going to merge a couple because we've got some really similar ones. So it's basically clients texting on weekends, evenings, early mornings, forever. And also, there's another question here where I'm dealing with a corporate or a college or a municipality or whatever I'm dealing with. And then all of a sudden, I think I'm dealing with John and I'm dealing with Vito, Jerome, Andy, Beryl, Doris, and I'm dealing with all these people, and it's web design by committee. What advice as a web developer, not necessarily as the founder of Atarim, would you give to people about that? But also using, I know how Atarim can solve it, but what's your view on that? Because we do have nightmares with designing by committee or building websites by committee, right. And these people just texting us at 1 o'clock in the morning. I still get it now, but it's just one of those things. But how do you deal with that, and how have you dealt with that in the past?
First of all, it's not one of those things. It's what we tell to us, what we say to ourselves that brings more of this behavior to us. It's not something to accept. It's something to stop. Why would a client reach out to you in the middle of the night or on the weekend? There is no real reason why this should happen. It's just how we allow these things to happen by not having the proper structures and small fences around ourselves and around our time. And so, first of all, you got to have an agreed upon channel, right? And whether it's Atarim or whether it's email or whether it's WhatsApp, maybe that is the right one for you. But that is how you communicate. That's it. And what I did when I was receiving WhatsApp messages from clients is that they didn't get a response for a week. Yeah. After a week, it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't see this message. You should have used the support desk.
Exactly. That's exactly what new clients do tend to WhatsApp, and I've got one client who gives tomes of emails. So you could write a book in one email, but and we've stopped all that process because we use Atarim, so it's much easier for him to communicate with us. So
with design by committee, that's another thing.
Well, Robert, Andrew did manage to combine 2 questions in one, but before we go on to design by committee, I also think to recap what you're saying about people emailing you late at night over the weekend, I think it's really got to be stated the hours of business the business operates in the contract. But I think what you're saying is if you reply to messages at 11 o'clock at night or
You agree to this?
or on Sunday, you're just going to get more messages at 11 o'clock at night and on Sunday, basically.
We create this reality for ourselves, and what we, some people might email at the middle of the night. Fine. Sometimes I work at midnight, and I do some stuff. That's fine. It's my business. I can do it, but I don't expect anyone to reply to me. You don't have to write working hours to know what are the standard working hours in society. Everyone knows what are the working hours.
I think you do. I would slightly disagree, but I understand. Now, when it comes to design by committee, what I really meant, what I think the question really means is I've got into this myself situation with large organizations where you initially are dealing with one individual and they have gone to committee, but they seem to be the person in charge. But as soon as the contract is signed, new people are introduced to the mixture out of nowhere. And more people seem to materialize out of the ether that seem to have authority, and so you end up with 5 different masters who have different conflicting ideas about how the project, and you don't know which one has got the end authority to sign off, because you've ended up with 5 different bosses. Have you come across that? And secondly, how have you solved that problem?
So what is happening in this scenario is that you're getting one email from this guy and another message from the other guy and another message from a third guy, and in different time spans, in different points in time. And then you have to reply to each one of them individually saying, yeah, but I already spoke to John about this, but but we already discussed with Andrew, and but this is already this, and they're just stepping on each other's toes, right? Just because there is no one source of truth. So with our system, what we kind of show here is that, let's say someone wants to use this image and someone else wants to use another image. They would see it here. They would both end up on the same ticket, because you can't create another. Right? Just going to open it, says someone is already talking about this thing, so add your message here. So then it becomes their internal conversation where you can chime in and have I think that John is right. I think that that James has the right approach here and weigh in as the expert, but they just talk amongst themselves with those different ideas. A lot of times what we see is that when someone says make the logo bigger, right? Then someone else would go in and before they see this, think like, oh, you know what? We actually need to make the logo smaller. So they would go in and see, oh, sorry, Andrew already said that he wants it bigger. Fine, I'll leave it. Let him do it. So just by the clarity of allowing them to see each other's things, you never get duplicates, and so they kind of kill themselves in this process. And we have I had a case study with a guy called Eben, and he had 20 stakeholders. They left 300 tasks on a page for him to take care of. 20 stakeholders in one project, and the conversation was just between them. They were talking to each other, fighting over something, and he was just like, I'm just not gonna touch this until I get the final message.
I think it's also linked, and I think it needs to be agreed to, and depending on the size of project in the contract, there wants to be one clear individual in the organization.
You're considering we're talking about these contracts like people are reading them.
Well, they don't. No,
they don't. So why are we even considering
I'm
this?
They don't read anything. But what I'm saying to you, not only it needs to be in the contract, but it needs to be discussed and understood that there's going to be one lead person in an organization which everybody in the organization can talk to, but there will be just one person that will have the final say of sign off.
This is one of the I agree with this in principle, but again, this is one of those things that we've developed as an industry, one of those false truths that we've developed just from bad experiences. We've had 20 stakeholders sending us 20 emails or 50 emails, so we've adopted
copying them in CYA, covering their ass and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, both Jonathan and Vito. And yes, you can say, right, we're only going to deal with one point of contact, but that one point of contact then gets inundated with emails and just forwards them. So there's no subject, there's no title. It's just totally confusing. It's taking hours. I've even quoted.
He doesn't know what they meant.
Well, exactly. You know? I've even quoted clients extra money for reading the emails. You know, I've got a ream of emails to read. I'm saying, well, this wasn't quoted that I've got to read the British Library. So sorry, guys, you know, we're going to take control of this. Atarim's come along and said, this is your one point of contact. If you want to communicate, I get an email as soon as you put in a request. As soon as you put in an amendment, I will get an email, or I get it 4 hours later, however time that I've set it. But, you know, that is the beauty of having a system that, you know, whether it's Atarim or something else, you have one point of focus. And that's the key, and making sure everybody focuses. Right, we're an hour in.
Yeah, well, I've got one more question, and then we'll wrap it up.
You know, boy.
So you've got a client. You've got your process, Atarim. You've done the things that we've discussed. You've got a contract based on one of the templates you recommended, Vito. You've done everything that we've advised. And you've got a client, but you've got a client that consistently goes MIA, missing in action. You know, you've done everything you can, but you've got, and I've had them, that they just disappear. They ghost you for a week, 2 weeks. They just do. And they keep...
Why?
Well, why? They never, you ask, you prompt, but you never get answer, really. Right. But they consistently do it. Yeah. Have you got any advice, insights? Because you must have had clients like this that consistently, for all your processes and your hand-holding, they go MIA.
Right. So sometimes you get legitimate reasons. You know, I had a family emergency. I had a death that I had to take care of. I'm going on a holiday for 2 weeks, and you know, those kind of things. No one is ashamed of telling you something as long as it's real. Where they don't tell you is because they are embarrassed of the reason, or they themselves legitimately don't know why they're not doing it. Right? They just procrastinate without any cause from their point. So I'm going to bring you back to those 5 points. The why is in one of those 5 points. It's always in one of those 5 points. They don't know how to do it. It just scares them off. And they just believe that they have more time. And then when the time passed, then you just give them more time. And okay, so I'll give you 2 more weeks. And then it extends this again, and they know that it's just going to keep happening like this. But still, they don't know how to do it, so they will never do it. But I would also bring this to more of a communication, a psychological communication aspect, right? When someone is creating a fault, when someone is breaking an ethical rule that they know that they broke, it brings the relationship down. That is the cause for breakage in relationships everywhere. That's why people get a divorce. Someone is lying about something, or hiding the truth about something, or not telling something, and then they start eating themselves from within until they don't want to face the other person at all. Right? That is always the cause for breakage in relationships, and this is what happens with clients on a different level, of course, but this is exactly the same thing that happens there. When they commit to a deadline and they break it, it eats them. even without them, they don't have to be like super enlightened to be that person that it bothers. Internally, we have a conscious, it bothers us when we say we do something and we don't do that. We think about this at night. We feel it in our stomach, and it just pushes us further back from this state. And every time that we do more of this thing, it pushes us further back and back and back. So the way to approach this is to try and figure out that why, and to tell them it's okay. Let's do it together. Let's have a call and understand what is going on. So like just giving them the ability of a way out of the hole that they dug for themselves. Is the way to get past these MIA clients and someone that is procrastinating because they don't know why they're doing it, but they just keep doing it because they did it.
And also kill them with kindness. You cannot believe the appropriateness of this, because I've literally just sent an email and said, "Hi, so and so. I don't see the payment in our account as yet, and it is the final one for the work that we did 2 weeks ago. Is there still an issue on the site you would like us to sort out? Please do give me a call. I'll be happy to get on a Zoom call with you and sort this issue out." And it's not being rude. It's not being obstreperous or stroppy or angry with them. It's like kind of being kind and saying, is there something we've missed? Right?
You bring them to you instead of pushing them away further, and that is the reason why these relationships break. And I'm telling you because I had a client that took literally, Jonathan, a year and a half to deliver the About Us page, only the About Us page, and she came up with the craziest of excuses. Like she had a car accident, but it just felt like she didn't have a car accident, and then and so you had a car accident like months ago. At some point she was like, yeah, but I was pregnant, so I was dealing with the pregnancy, but when we started the project she wasn't pregnant yet. It was like a year before, like there's no way she was pregnant back then. So she just kept coming up with these excuses, and really she just didn't know how to approach this, and she was embarrassed of saying this because she was placed in she was like a startup founder, and she believed that she needs to know, and she didn't. And I didn't do enough to give her the tools and the knowledge to show her how. So she just said, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. And I'm sure that a few times she sat in front of the computer, in front of a blank sheet, and tried to figure out how, and then went off to make a cup of tea, right?
As you do when you're English, yeah. I think it's been a fantastic discussion. You'll find Vito, Andrew, and myself on the WP-Tonic Mastermind Facebook group page. If you've got any questions about this workshop, please join us in that group. Like I say, Andrew and myself are very responsive. I'm sure Vito is a member of the group. If he isn't, he's probably joined tonight. And you got any questions, like I say, we'll be having a similar discussion around different elements that will make your freelancing career, your small digital agency, or your implementation business around WordPress a lot easier. We'll be having the next discussion on Tuesday, the 23rd of this month at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Vito and Andrew will be joining me again. We've got another fantastic topic. We'll have more questions. Hopefully, please give us feedback about how you found this, how useful you found it, either on the YouTube channel, but preferably on the Facebook group page. And we're more than happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you, Vito. Thank you.
I've just got to finish something. There's a couple of things we've missed, but it's something that I want to just talk about. Obviously, go to WP-Tonic or WP-Tonic.com/newsletter, and then you can figure out how to sign up to the newsletter. And also, there's important freelance contract terms and clauses for designers and developers. Go to jenniferbourne.com and search for managing clients that disappear, and also jenniferbourne.com freelance contract terms. Search for that within that website, and I'll now let Jonathan say the proper goodbye.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Thank you for that. We'll be, like I say, we'll be seeing you on the 23rd for another great workshop with Vito and Andrew. We'll see you soon. Bye.
See you,
guys.
Vito. See you, Jonathan. Thanks a lot.